What's up, guys? Welcome back. All-wheel drive, live, coming at you live. Today we're doing the follow-up to the preview for the Land Rover. It's a 2017. This is a brand new car. One of my very dear and close friends just acquired it. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to take a ride in and give you some impressions of what I think of this big luxury tank, a behemoth of an SUV, and quite surprisingly, a very sporting and agile vehicle given its size and its mass. It's a very impressive piece of machinery. I gotta say, the British have done a nice job with this, and we're gonna see what it's all about. All right, so let's get going. I'm pretty excited to drive this thing. I've been in Rovers plenty of times. I've never driven one myself, so I think this is a pretty appropriate introduction to it, to be driving one of the latest and greatest that they've produced. So this is the Sport SE. It's got the 5-liter supercharged V8. It's a 510 horsepower monster, 460 plus pound-feet of torque. So I think it's fair to say this thing will haul you as quickly as you need to go, as well as anything you want to haul with it, with no problem. They've updated a lot of things in this model, and then the model that's obviously the newest, which is the 18. Infotainment has been improved. They've had a lot more safety, lane assist, rear cross traffic detection. That was pretty cool. That thing actually worked really well for me. I was about to back up a little while ago, and I turned to look to the right and then looked left, and then when I went to back up, the assist came on. A car had just turned into the entrance to the neighborhood, and I hadn't even seen it. So that was pretty cool. It does work. I do believe that it also has front and rear sensors. With a vehicle this big, that makes perfect sense. My truck, which is quite old now, has sensors because it's just so big. So it kind of goes without saying on vehicles like this that you're going to have that sort of safety feature. It's got a really big screen, 10.2 inches. To put that in perspective, my MacBook Pro is a 13-inch screen because I just didn't want a really big one. And it's suitable. It's perfect for whatever you want to do. It's easy to take it with and store, and it's just not a lot to deal with if you're trying to, lug it around. This is a 10.2, so you're talking less than 3 inches of difference corner to corner screen wise. It has an HDMI input, so essentially you can connect media to this thing, and it'll be a pretty decent screen to observe anything you need to do on it. Movies, Netflix, YouTube, all-wheel drive. And the thing I like about supercharged engines is that they just are always in the meat of their power and their torque. Obviously, the red line's going to dictate how much of that you've got left as you accelerate. But for the most part, when you're ready to accelerate, it's ready to accelerate. You're not waiting on a whole lot to happen. With a turbo, you've got a light bit of lag, but most of that's been worked out with many of the manufacturers who are producing turbo engines now. So it's pretty immediate. And it's a V8. I mean, come on. How much lag do you think you're actually going to experience in a V8? Hopefully not any. Now with this huge transmission, 8 speeds, it means that it has a lot of bandwidth, and that you can use as little as necessary to get what you need out of it. Acceleration, you don't need to be in second, third to really make it go. And it helps with efficiency because, let's face it, this thing's probably somewhere around 5,000 pounds in total weight. And even though it's got 510 horsepower and well over 460 pound-feet of torque, if you're an elephant and you drink 5-hour energy, you're still an elephant. You're not going to beat a cheetah. So you need all that to move this thing around. And the transmission really helps to do that efficiently as efficiently goes with this. But it's very effective too, because you're not overstressing the engine at any point. And all those gears gives you a wide range of versatility for when you need that power. The ride is very, very nice. It takes up the bumps really nicely. The surprising thing about this vehicle for me, in terms of its versatility and usage, is that it's not nearly as spacious as I thought it would be. I mean, it is a big vehicle, tall for the most part, from, you know, the floor to the roof. It's wide, it's pretty long, but you don't have a ton of cabin space in here. I mean, it's got decent cargo space in the rear. You could get everything you need to get in there. The front seats are comfortable, but there's a lot going on down here. I mean, this center console is massive. My son is not this wide. So I don't know if you need this much in the center console. I get it, you want to have adequate space, you want to accommodate all these things here, but that's a lot taken away from just this section of the cabin where I want to feel like I've got plenty of room. And I do. I mean, I'm not a huge guy, but one of my good buddies is 6'5", you know, probably about the same weight as I am, and I think he would probably want a little bit more than what I have here. The seat does go back quite a bit more, but once you do that, you start to limit the rear passenger's capacity. I was looking at this earlier, and when I sat in the back, based on where I currently have the seat, it wasn't as much as I thought it would be. I thought I would have way more leg room than I did. Headroom, not a problem, especially with this beautiful panoramic roof. It just brings everything inside. You feel like you're in a greenhouse. But it's not as spacious as I thought. And the option on this vehicle is that you can put or have it equipped with a third row. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know where all that extra leg room is supposed to come from. And reading something that Edmunds wrote about it, they indicated that those seats in the third row, if equipped, were essentially just for kids. My wife has a 2012 MDX, and that has a third row in it, but it's much smaller than this. Way, way smaller footprint. But the third row, I can sit in it pretty comfortably. And I would imagine that if you put a third row in this, that cargo space in the rear is going to be pretty much nil. I mean, at this point, you could get 4 really large suitcases in the back easily, and then you can stack it up as high as you need to go to accommodate any other, you know, items that you need to haul. But if you put that third row in there, and you're going to go on a trip with a crew of 4, I imagine it would start to get really tight. In my wife's car, you can't get anything back there except strollers and a backpack if you've got the third row up. So it's interesting that you can get that. I don't know if it's really going to be as useful as you might think. Nonetheless, this vehicle is about presence. And as I drive it, I feel a great deal of presence. I feel like I'm arriving. I feel, let's be honest, like a baller. I feel like a baller right now. And that's what this is meant to evoke, that sort of feeling that, hey, you know what? If you're gonna drive, if you're gonna ride or be driven, might as well go all out. And that's what the Rover is all about. You see a lot of celebrities picking these vehicles, and I promise you it's not for their, you know, long-term durability and reliability. It's just a great thing to have presence in. And you know, it's a great place to be. It's a very great vehicle, don't get me wrong. You know, you've heard all the stories about the reliability and their issues, the cost of maintenance. I promise you it ain't gonna be cheap. It ain't Lamborghini expensive, but you know, I think you would do better with a Lexus if you want to save money on the maintenance. Nonetheless, it's a great vehicle. You're buying it brand new. You shouldn't have any problems. They'll take care of any if there are. Now let's be honest, when you're enjoying something like this, troubles are the last thing on your mind. I could see taking a long journey in this vehicle. We took a mammoth trip last year, and I would imagine that this would be the ideal vehicle to do that trip in. This one isn't equipped with paddle shifters. You know, it's a sport, and I'm pretty sure that everything is a matter of what you want to add, what you want to subtract from the packages. It does have a sport mode. It's on the selector, the gear selector, but no paddles. And in that mode, you're going to get greater shift points. And this thing hauls ass, man. And it feels really secure on the road. I mean, I've got Miss Daisy up front here, and great brakes, really big brake discs. I believe they're 14-inch. But it just feels really connected to the road. It does have body roll. Let's be real here. This thing's 5,000 plus pounds. But I feel like it's very agile, easy to maneuver, and you don't feel overwhelmed by it. You know, a lot of vehicles you drive around, my truck particularly, and I'm just always conscious about where I am, because everything seems like it's really close to me. I'll pull through a drive-through and the proximity sensors go off, just because it's such a behemoth vehicle. This thing, as big as it is, it doesn't feel overwhelming. My friend who owns this vehicle, she's probably 5'3", 5'4", petite as you can imagine, and she feels really, really comfortable in this thing. She feels safe, obviously, but she doesn't feel like it's too much vehicle. And a lot of people will think, well, how is it too much vehicle? If you talk to a woman, she will tell you what too much vehicle is. Men think there's no such thing. Women will tell you, I don't need all that around me. My wife is one of those people. She would never drive anything like an Escalade or a Suburban. I don't think she'd even take on a Tahoe. And a Tahoe is actually a smaller version of that. But it's just so massive. With the MDX, it's a very, you know, compact SUV. In that it feels more like a big sedan. And some people just do well with that. This vehicle, and I think if she were to drive it, she might still say, yeah, it's bigger than I need. But I don't think she'd feel overwhelmed by it. The materials in this thing are what you'd expect. One thing that you'll never find a shortage of in a Rover is the opulence and the luxury that defines a brand. The materials are state of the art, world class, soft to the touch, solid. I don't hear any ratcheting or squeaking. I mean, it's brand new. You shouldn't, but you'd be surprised at things that come out of the production houses from some of these big OEMs. And I believe Rover just gets it. You know, your audience will tell you whether you're doing it right or not. And the fact that the numbers support that Rover's doing it right with this vehicle, you know, you get no argument from me on that one. This thing is really well put together. You know what's interesting is I don't get the inclination to drive this thing like a lunatic. I mean, I know it goes fast, and I'm all about power. You know how I am. I like power relative to what you're driving. But all I want to do in this thing is just floss. I never thought I'd say that. I'm not that guy. But all I want to do is just drive and enjoy the drive. I'm not so much thinking about what I'm driving, in as much as I'm thinking about how what I'm driving makes me feel as I drive. It just feels good. This is just what driving pleasure feels like. Not performance, but just driving pleasure. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's been a while. Glad to be back. Hope you're all doing well. Got lots more to come this year. Stay tuned. Subscribe, like, share. Tell everybody. Alright, till the next video, all-wheel drive. Peace out. So one of the coolest features about this vehicle is the ride height adjustment. So you've got a pretty normal ride height. Whoa. For that sort of stuff, you want the lifted ride height, which I just initiated. Lifts the thing up probably about 3 to 4 inches off the ground. It's pretty freaking sweet. So when you're on the freeways or just driving through suburbia, lowering it to the standard setting keeps it a little bit more planted in terms of stability and handling and agility. This is for when the terrain gets real. And it's a little real right now. I'm traveling on a back road that I don't get the chance to experience very often. And this thing is something to behold. There are certain brands that do one thing extraordinarily well. And often as consumers will be reluctant to subscribe to that idea that no one else is going to do it as well as they're doing it. But when they put in the time and the research and the development and taking their experience to heart, they get a recipe that just cannot be copied or replicated, duplicated, stolen, whatever you want to call it. And all that needs to happen for the right consumer is to take a ride in it, and then you know. There's so many cars that I've experienced that's been the case, where I'm like, it can't be all that, and then you drive it and you're like, what? Wow, I get it. I seriously think I'd have this vehicle. I'm even trying to rationalize where it will fit in my life.